You went to college to make more money, and now you are making more money, just not for yourself. For Sally Mae, congratulations on the degree. Americans right now owe $1.841 trillion in the student loans, not billion, trillion, with a T, the kind of number that makes your $43,000 balance feel almost manageable. It isn't. Today I'm showing you why your balance barely moves, who the system was designed to benefit, and the strategy that actually works. Stick around, the ending is useful. The scale. 45.8 million Americans carry student loan debt, more people than live in California, all stuck in the same machine, all making the same minimum payment that barely moves the needle. The average federal loan balance hit $39,633 in December 2025, a record. Add private loans, and you're at $43,133. That's not a degree, that's a down payment on a house, except the house is your own brain. At 7% interest on that average balance, you accrue $2,700 in interest every year. That's $7.60 a day before you make a single payment. Before your first cup of coffee, the meter is already running. Standard 10-year repayment, about $460 a month, of which $231 goes straight to interest. You're paying $460 to reduce your debt by $229. It's like bailing out a boat with a teaspoon while someone keeps pouring water in. Median starting salary for a 2025 college grad, around $58,000. After tax, $3,900 a month. After rent, groceries, insurance, and transportation, you're choosing between your loan payment and dinner. A 2025 survey found 42% of borrowers actively choosing between loan payments and basic needs, not luxuries, food, medicine, rent. The system describes this as a manageable debt level. I would use different words. The delinquency rate, borrowers 31 or more days behind, is now 29.5% of total outstanding balance, up from 12.7% in 2019, more than doubled in 5 years. Nobody put this on the news. 7.7 million borrowers in outright default, $180 billion defaulted loans as of early 2026. Consequences, wage garnishment, seized tax refunds, and Social Security taken in retirement. Your degree follows you. So does your debt. Behind them, 4.3 million more borrowers teetering on the edge of default. They call it the default cliff. I'd call it a policy choice dressed up as a personal failure. Why did this happen? In 1980, a year of public college cost about $8,000 in today's dollars. By 2020, over $27,000. Tuition grew 3 times faster than inflation. Wages didn't. Real wages for the median American are about 16% higher than 1979. College costs are up over 200% in real terms. You're paying 2025 prices with 1985 wage growth. The math was broken before you enrolled. Who profits? The federal government earned approximately $61 billion net income from student loans in 2024. Your financial misery has a literal line item in the federal budget. God bless America, truly. Student loans are the only consumer debt you cannot discharge in bankruptcy, a rule Congress has created in 1976. Credit card debt, dischargeable. Gambling losses, dischargeable. Your sociology degree follows you to the grave. Very thoughtful legislation. Once non-dischargeable, lenders had zero incentive to be careful. They'd lend to an 18-year-old with no income, no credit history, because no matter what, they'd get paid back, risk-free, for them. Federal student loan rates for 2025-2026, undergrad at 6.53%, graduate at 8.08%, plus loans at 9.08%. You can get a small business loan at roughly the same rate, except the business loan assumes you'll generate revenue. Your 22-year-old self could not. The hidden trap, capitalization. During deferment, forbearance, or low payment IDR, unpaid interest gets added to your principal. Then interest accrues on the larger balance, a debt that literally breeds more debt. Example, $30,000 at 7%, 3 years in deferment. You now owe $36,300. You paid nothing. You owe 21% more than when you started. This is the machine that trapped 7 million people. Income-driven repayment was sold as the fix. 10% of discretionary income. After 20 to 25 years, the rest is forgiven. Sounds reasonable. Here's what they leave out of the brochure. On 39,630 days at 7%, 10-year plan costs $62,000 total. IDR over 25 years, $118,000, with a balance still forgiven at the end. Nearly twice as much paid, and the loan still isn't retired. They call this affordable. The forgiven amount gets taxed as ordinary income. After 25 years of payments, the IRS shows up and says, great news. That forgiven $40,000 counts as income this year. Medicare can wait. The tax bill is due in April. Reality check by profession. Doctors, $200,000 debt, $300,000 salary, they'll be fine. Education majors, $40,000 debt, $42,000 salary, they are not fine. Same system, radically different outcomes. Only one group is drowning. Black borrowers face a triple burden. More debt, higher default rates, lower wages than white graduates with identical degrees from identical schools. 4 years after graduation, many owe more than they originally borrowed. That's not personal failure, that's structural. The graduate school trap. Can't find a job? Get a master's. Borrow $60,000 more. Qualify for a $55,000 a year role. Negative ROI for at least a decade. But the campus was beautiful. The loan servicers, companies like Navient and Motivational, that the government hires to manage your debt. In Twig, Navient paid a $185 billion settlement for steering borrowers into forbearance instead of income-driven repayment. Deliberately, for years. Why? Servicers earn fees as long as loans stay active. Your unpaid interest is their revenue. They are not your bank. They're a toll booth on your future. Fiduciary duties go to shareholders, not to you. Public service loan. Forgiveness, 10 years of public service work, then your debt is forgiven. Teachers, nurses, government workers. Originally, about 1% of applicants were approved. 1%. They built a forgiveness program that didn't forgive anyone. Approval is now 3.5%. Improved, still pathetic. Qualifying employer, 120 payments on the correct plan. Correct paperwork filed every single year for a decade. One wrong form resets your count. 10 years, one mistake, zero. The Biden administration tried $10,000 in broad forgiveness. The Supreme Court struck it down. Then SAVE, the most generous IDR plan ever designed, was blocked by federal courts in 2024. 8 million enrollees. Payments paused, no resolution in sight. 8 million people enrolled in SAVE because it was finally the solution. Then a federal court said, not so fast. 8 million borrowers in legal limbo. The official description of this situation, an ongoing legal matter. Outstanding. 20% of all borrowers are in default or delinquency. 1 in 5. Not bad decisions. People who followed the path society told them was correct, hit by a system designed to collect, not to educate. The APA lists student loan debt among the top 3 financial stressors in America. Chronic debt stress correlates with depression, anxiety, delayed marriage, fewer children, and 0 new businesses started. First-time homebuyer age in 2025, 38 years old. Up from 29 in the 1980s. Student debt is a primary driver. You borrowed to get the job to buy the house. The debt from step 1 ate the budget for step 3. The opportunity cost. Invest $460 a month instead of the loan payment for 10 years. Roughly $75,000 at historical S&P returns. Peers without debt had 10 extra years of compounding. That gap widens every year. But before I tell you what actually moves the needle, hit subscribe, because your algorithm is not going to recommend financial content that tells you the truth. That's not how algorithms work. Now back to the damage. All right, what actually works? Know your loan type first. Federal versus private. Different rules, different strategy. Start there. Federal loans, income-driven repayment. PSLF, deferment, forbearance. Private loans, none of that. Refinancing federal into private means losing those protections permanently. Don't do it unless your private rate is dramatically lower and you have no federal options left. If you work for a government agency, nonprofit, or qualifying public employer, PSLF is still worth pursuing. The key? File your employment certification form every single year. Not at the end, every year. Catch errors before they cost you years. Check your employer benefits. More companies than you think offer student loan repayment assistance. $5,250 a year, tax-free. That's $52,500 over 10 years. Most people never read their benefits package. For private loans, where IDR doesn't apply, use the avalanche method. Order debts by interest rate, highest first. Put every extra dollar toward the top rate while making minimums on the rest. It costs you the least over time. Mathematically proven. When you make extra payments, explicitly direct them to principal, not toward your next monthly payment. Servicers default to applying overpayments as payment advances, which does nothing for your interest balance. Make the designation in writing every time. On income-driven repayment, recertify strategically. Income dropped. Recertify immediately. Payment goes down right away. Income went up. Wait until recertification is required. You're legally allowed to delay the increase. Use it. Extra income, freelance, overtime, bonuses, goes directly to principal on your highest rate loan. Every $1,000 in extra principal cuts future interest by $70 a year. Here at 7%, the only compounding that works in your favor. If you have solid credit and stable income, refinancing private loans can work. Dropping from 9 to 5% on $40,000 saves over $8,000 in interest over 10 years. Shop around, compare offers, and only refinance private loans, never federal. 3 borrower categories, 3 different playbooks. You can afford payments but want out faster. You barely make minimums, or you can't pay at all. Let's go through each. You can pay, avalanche on private loans, extra principal wherever possible. For federal IDR, run the numbers. Paying off faster almost always costs less total unless PSLF is genuinely on the table. You barely make minimums. Switch to IDR now. Check employer loan assistance. Find one recurring extra income source, even $200 a month, directed entirely to principal, not lifestyle, not savings yet. Kill the rate first. You cannot pay at all. Do not ignore it. Call your servicer. Apply for deferment or income-driven repayment immediately. Default is not inevitable. It's a process that takes time, and you can stop it before it starts. Silence is always the worst strategy. For federal borrowers, 2 paths: aggressive payoff or IDR tracking toward PSLF. No public service job. Aggressive payoff almost always wins. Work in public service and qualify. IDR plus PSLF is often the cheaper path, even over 25 years. 3 rules: attack principal, not minimums. Never lose federal loan protections unnecessarily. Use every tool: employer benefits, IDR, PSLF if eligible. The interest tax deduction. The system is imperfect. Your strategy inside it doesn't have to be. Student loan debt is structural, not personal. You didn't fail the system. The system was built this way. But systems don't care about you. So use the tools that actually exist even when they're imperfect. 1.841 trillion, 45.8 million borrowers owning by 2.5% delinquency, 7.7 million in default, 42% choosing between debt and basic needs. Not personal failures, a system operating exactly as designed. This is Money Autopsy. Let's cut it open.